Welcome to the Murder Media podcast, where we analyse and overthink true crime. I'm your host, Dr. Stella Marie Gaynor, and you can follow the Murder Media project over on Instagram at murdermedia81. That's the numbers 81, and we're on Facebook at Murder Media, and you can email the podcast directly at murdermedia81@gmail.com. Welcome back, everyone. I'm joined by Laura this week. I've dragged her back for another chat. How are you, Laura?
All right, thanks, Stells. How are you?
I'm all right. It's Friday afternoon.
It is,
after work. Possible hysteria.
Amen to that. What a fortnight it has been. My days, my world.
Fortnight? What a week.
What a week. Yeah, no, I just mean in the UK at this time, there's been some mad court rulings about some proper mad bullshit. And I've had to deal with it at work, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's all a bit stressful. So
yeah, the world's a bin fire, basically. But apart from that, it's Friday.
It is Friday.
And I've just cracked a beer.
We do have a beer, so sorry.
It's going to be fine.
What can go wrong? What can go wrong with this piece of academic work? Right. So then, given that we've got a beer and given that it's Friday, I want to talk to you about cults. Everything to do with cults, documentaries, films, books, just all the cults, and how cults and those terrible groups, cults that end up killing themselves, cults that end up bringing people in to give them all their stuff, all of that stuff, how that is mediated through all of the true crime media that we see. Cults and true crime overlap, of course. There's lots of these groups that engage in criminal acts, from abuse to murder to financial crimes, coercion and fraud. There's the big cults that I think everyone's heard of. I've got 3 favourites that I'm sure we'll go over again and again. So my favourites are the People's Temple and the Horrors of Jonestown that me and Shelley talked about the other week, Heaven's Gate, the away team and their Nike trainers, and then the Branch Davidians and the Waco siege. Now, lots of that crosses over into the American history stuff that I also quite like. But then recently, as I know you're a big fan of, there's been a flurry of Zoom cults, online cults. So with that in mind then, what are your favourite cults?
So nicely set up. I do love a Zoom cult. Yeah, my response to that would be very influenced by real live footage. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I am also fascinated by those historic ones like Jonestown and Waco and whatever. But for me, there is something truly delightful about listening to their bullshit and like seeing the egos in real time, seeing all that, the fantasists at work, which just adds that extra little bit of sweetness to like their inevitable downfall. So I really enjoy that. And off the back of that, therefore, my faves would be things like the Twin Flame, you know, the sort of Zoom thing where they're, doing their thing and you can watch it. The Lighthouse, there was the stuff about that. I love Love Has Won. Who else do I love?
Old Blue Tits.
Old Blue Tits. Blue Flaps. Straight away, lowering the tone. You started, you set them up. I'll knock them down. I'm distracted by Blue Tits. What's that one?
The Orgasm Cult.
The Orgasm Cult.
That's the one.
Love them as well. I feel like I must also give a mention to Dance Moms, because I know you're a better person than me, you don't watch reality TV, but I'm watching Dance Moms with my daughter and I'm convinced that that's a cult as well.
It's got culty stuff going on, hasn't it?
Such culty
now that you say it.
Vibes.
There's that, and then it was a doc that Geraldine told us to watch that was about the cheerleaders that had weird culty vibes in it as well, particularly when they go off on like scholarships to uni and it all ends
Cheer?
Up. Yeah, I think it might just be called Cheer.
Seen it. Well, I saw like a few episodes at the beginning and I'm just dead squeamish every time I thought they were going to break their necks. I was like, I'm too emotionally sensitive. Says me who loves a true crime and a cult, but I'm like, don't show me teenage girls breaking their arms.
Well, they went into all of the sorority stuff that's super culty and super weird.
There's a hot take.
There's a hot take. And there's also another episode that I'd like to talk about. Anyway.
Okay.
So you mentioned the sort of like the Zoom cults, Twin Flames, Love Has Won, all that stuff, all silver flaps. Is there something to be said about the joy of them? Is that the right phrase? But the enjoyment of them in that it's feels really now. When you look back at, say, Jonestown or Heaven's Gate, because of the time distance, it feels, I don't know, it's historical. So it's like, oh, wow, look at that thing in the past and it could never happen like that. And I guess maybe it's not happening like that anymore. Maybe it's just now all online and we're so used to that mediated, seeing people through the Zoom screen or seeing people through the YouTube frame that we expect, the play bar at the bottom, that it just feels so of our time. It's quite entertaining. And like you said, watching it happen in real time.
Yeah.
When is it all going to fall to shit? That's the big question, isn't it? All right, then. So which cult media would you point to as being really good? So you've got some of your favourite types of cult, but which docs, films, TV series have you been like, this is banging?
Yeah, I do watch quite a lot of films, like documentary films and documentary TV. I'm not often a fan of a dramatisation. I do like more true documentary style. And I also am a big podcast listener. I do a lot of driving, so I definitely listen to podcasts. Again, I think I prefer that medium of seeing the real stuff because it just gives that extra little bit of delight, really.
A bit of that hand rub.
Yeah. I don't know, who, I couldn't really say who does it best. I know you always talk about that thing, like the Netflix filter or gaze or something. What do you call that?
Netflix gloss.
Netflix gloss. Yeah, so that's the sort of thing where, you'll have to take over on that one. But I can sit through a few parter. I don't mind if it's a series or a film movie. Yeah. I don't know if that's a great answer, but no.
So do you mean
over to you?
You prefer a doc that's like hour and a half, get in, get out?
Yeah, but likewise, I can sit through a 4-parter if it's juicy. Yeah, I really do. If it's good and interesting, like, the 8 Passengers one recently. I know it's not a cult per se, but pure culty vibes.
It is a cult.
It's a small cult. It's just a small cult. It was a cult.
I think it must be because it's coming out of LDS stuff, which is
a cult.
Which is a cult. The shit that they were doing, the coercion and the lying and the ostracising of people. Yeah. It just, if like Spencer says, if it walks like a cult and it quacks like a cult, it's a fucking cult. And it's right. And it's like, just because it doesn't look like, say, Jonestown or Heaven's Gate, and they're not all, trying to go and leave on a comet, I don't think it's not a cult.
Can we just touch on that guy? Who was the cult leader from Heaven's Gate?
Applewhite.
Man, the journey of what happens to his face over the years, the more demented he gets, is just a sight to behold, isn't it?
It's wild. I mean,
the wilder the eyes get, the higher the eyebrows. Like, as time goes on, it's like you start sort of walking like a puppet almost.
Were they tripping as well? I can't remember. Maybe they weren't, because they were all about abstinence of everything, weren't they? Which is why some of them...
Weren't they all having sex anyway?
I'm sure they all have.
They all do, don't they? Nuns, priests, whatever's, they're all at it.
The Pope died this week.
Yes.
The head of one cult has just done. Where was we? Marshall Applewhite.
His face.
His face, but they did lots of videos, didn't they? So there's loads of video footage of him talking to camera in this really weird voice, really weird syntax. It's just like, what the fuck, mate? But I'm sure they did all the abstinence stuff, they were supposed to be doing. The followers weren't eating very well, they weren't eating very interesting things, so like just taking all sort of flavour and interest out of their lives, that they've become so fixated on the horse shit that he was saying. And I ended up listening to the first 10 minutes of a podcast about Heaven's Gate today. It just clicked over on my phone when the last podcast ended, and it obviously just went to that one. I'd heard it before, pointed out the thing that I'd forgotten about them, but the ones that killed themselves with their Nike trainers and their purple blankets, they all had little patches on their little suits that said away team, because they were well into like Star Trek and shit like that, and they were the away team. Just like,
those suicide videos are devastating to watch.
It's like it's all fun and games in it until that footage, and then it's just like,
and you can see the lack of confidence in the plan, can't you?
Only when they're all talking about going.
Their goodbye videos. Yes. You can see that actually the coercion, and that it's got that real air of doing it because you've been told to do it. They're really, really hard to watch.
So you see some wobbles.
Hard to watch, yeah.
Well, me and Shelley were speculating the other week because Shelley was talking about her work with the death tape from Jonestown, and then we were talking about all those people to drink the Flavour Aid and to do the thing, or to be forcibly injected with it or whatever. For all those people to get done, it must have taken hours.
Are we in Jonestown now, or did they do Flavour Aid? Is that what they did?
Yeah, everyone says drink the Kool-Aid.
Oh, right. Okay, sorry.
That person.
Oh,
actually, it was Flavour Aid. But yeah, do you remember being like, how at the back of that queue?
Used that BBC doc, I know you've seen it because we've talked about it, but they talked in there, didn't they, about the dissenters and how actually it did turn murderous essentially at the end, because actually so many people probably didn't want to do it in the first place. And as that hysteria, imagine like what those what you call them, I'm vegetarian, you're vegan. Those places like, not knackers yards, but where they take all the animals to kill them. Yes. Like the hysteria that happens in animals there. Bloody hell. And like to be, and there's children. Like, did they do the children first? I don't know. Like,
I think some of the younger kids were injected, and then slightly bigger were sort of forced the little cups, as far as I'm aware.
Oh my God.
But I mean, you know, as Shelley said, like there's no footage of it. There's audio of some of it, and just from looking at the bodies afterwards, finding injection marks, finding evidence of resistance, yeah. And then some had gunshot wounds in them.
Yes.
Because some tried to run and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, either way, that day took fucking hours. And I'd not thought about that for ages. You know, from learning about Jonestown, and then it was only years later that I think I was listening to something else, and it was like, oh fuck, I've not actually considered how that would actually play out.
And also people, you know, there's reasons why we don't have capital punishment, and it's not just moral and ethical, but it's also the process. So giving people the right amount of dosage, people don't just die quickly, and you can't just decide how much people need. People would have been through long, agonising and painful deaths as well. You know, the screaming, the agony, like...
Speaking of Jonestown, as we are, Nina Jones, I think, who was at Murder Media, I think she shared it with me first, and I've immediately passed it on to Shelley. HBO were doing a dramatisation of Jonestown. They're doing a drama. I know you said you don't like dramas, but...
Do you know what? I've got this weird thing. I've got loads of weird things. We've all got weird things, haven't we? Maybe I get a bit sensitive about filling in the gaps. And I know we all do it, but I think that there's a little bit of me that feels that it's so devastating and it's so awful. There is probably a bit of me that feels, again, a moral thing where I'm like, it feels uncomfortable to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
So to create people's voices and to tell their story without their voice, we're guessing, especially with something as old as that. Yes, there's loads of footage, there's loads of, you know, we have got information, but I think there's a bit of me that sort of just feels it's a bit bad taste to make it salacious. I know you love him. You're like, yeah, I've seen this one. Dexter, not Dexter. That's something different.
I hated Dexter.
Declan. Who's the dude that began with a D that they did a dramatisation? The serial killer.
Beginning with a D?
Is it not? It could be an R. I've got a visual.
Sutcliffe?
No. Rex. God, scrap this.
This is
anyway.
Podcasting gold.
Somebody, the guy who killed all the gay guys. What's he called? The British guy who chopped up
Dennis
the gay
Nelson.
guys. Dennis!
Yeah, ITV did their show called Des.
And it was
what's
far off?
Nearly. What's his chops?
Oh.
David Tennant.
Yes.
Played him very convincingly.
Yeah, so I've not seen any of the Savile stuff, not seen any of any of that.
The one with
there's
Steve
something
Coogan.
about all of them that just make me feel uncomfortable. Yeah.
Well, don't read that chapter of the book then.
Hey, unless you can make it in an audio, but with the best fun in the world, I'm not going to read it anyway. I'm like, I can't sit still long enough to read a book. That's why I'm here. I'm here for the podcasts. I'm here for the articles.
But
books.
Yeah, it's too long.
My ADHD bum cannot handle this. I was going to say arse, I've been swearing, and then I decided to say bum, but I've said all kinds of swear words already, so that was ridiculous.
I think we're past it. Bum.
We are, aren't we?
So that does kind of bring us around to the next question / topic, don't think, these really proper questions. You've talked about how you don't want to watch dramatisations, make you give you the ick a little bit. What do you think defines a cult in terms of like media coverage? What groups get docs and which don't? Why do you think some are worthy of being sort of looked at in terms of mediated content? It's got to be loads that we don't hear about, right? Of
course, yeah.
Surely.
Because when you said to me, like, do you want to come back and talk to you about cults? Because obviously I was like, I love a cult in the last one.
You did, in fact, call for more cults.
I did. Oh no, don't hold me to that. Don't hold me to it. I was reflecting on this after you'd asked me back, was thinking about all those famous cults and how obviously, like everything else, all the love to the white men in the world, but it's often white men, isn't it? You know, they get a bad press at the moment, and now look at the bloody incel manosphere bullshit that we're living in because the white men don't like being told that they've had power, and now it's all fucking crumbling again. But yeah, they obviously are the ones that we hear about a lot, and obviously have had positions of power historically and in our Western world and view lens. Obviously, we're going to look at a lot more of that, or media-wise, will be inclined to look at that. And because of their positions in society, they probably have been historically more likely to have become a cult leader. So I think there is something there about that white male cult leader lens. And so there's lots of that. And yeah, you and I was speaking this recently. I imagine there's loads more that we would never hear of in the sort of Western media because they're just not that interested or not that bothered, or it wasn't that reported at the time or whatever. Obviously, there are some that have been reported, like, I don't know if you called Bikram a cult, you probably would, with the yoga thing. That Wild Wild West country, Wild West
country.
Yeah, that one. You know, so there are these sort of like other guru-y folk that have got into the popular culture and medium, and obviously, as discussed, we have got some women as well, you know, the sort of, you know, blue tits and what have you. Good old blue tits. So, yeah, I think there's the white male trope that gets through. And then obviously there'll be a million other reasons why as well. Like it needs to be quite spectacular, doesn't it? And
Yeah,
the
I think
found
so.
footage, not the found footage using terms I don't understand. But recent footage of that will also influence it, won't it? Because it's like it adds to the storytelling.
Yeah, well, it's
So
like
that will probably get prioritised.
for sure. So it's like the news now. So if there's a reporter on the scene and there's a camera there, that story will get bumped
Yes.
up the reports. You know, when you tune in and watch the news, if there's footage, if there's audio, then that makes for a better story because you've got more than somebody saying, "Oh, this happened," and so if you can see it, you can hear it. Then like I said, it gets through the filter a little bit.
Yeah.
The current wave, continuing wave, I imagine, of Zoom cults and their adoption of media technology. Using it to spread their message, to recruit. I think that's quite interesting, and it's, I suppose, the natural progression of this. If we're going to live more and more online, then so are these guys, aren't we?
Yeah, I think something that links to that as well is just the vanity element as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the whole like Instagram, you know, that whole personal profile, just the vapidness and the sort of like there's not a great deal behind the surface of that.
It's gross. It's gross. It's gross. So you mentioned the very prevalent white male cult leader.
They love it.
He's everywhere, isn't he? He's everywhere.
Classic narcissist.
And he's very arrogant with it as well. What about any other common stereotypes that cult media about cults has given us? So we've got it's got the white male, very charismatic leader. Are there any other stereotypes that you see sort of coming out of the many cult documentaries that you've watched?
I think with a lot of the recent ones, class might feature, but not in terms of working class. It's more like privileged classes, people who can afford the membership, afford to be upsold the products, afford to give their house to the cult leader, afford to buy into whatever utopian ideal that is. So maybe there's a class theme that emerges there.
I think so. I think that's really interesting because if you're a single mother and you're working 3 jobs and you barely get time to sit down. When are you going to start joining some prick in a loincloth?
Zoom class. Oh my God. Can't touch my fucking hair most weeks. Like, I've not got
Talk
time.
about getting a better orgasm. It's like, oh God, no one's got time.
I've got time for orgasms, let alone better ones. It's like, work 60 hours a week, mate. Got 3 kids.
Exactly. She's not joining the cult, is she?
No.
She really
she's
isn't.
too busy.
She's too busy.
She's got enough time. And like time is a privilege, isn't it? So time also makes you or allows you to entertain all kinds of ideas. So like the likes of the rest of us who are coming to work all day and like raising the kids and doing whatever, you might know that like, all these tinfoil hat theories, you might have heard of them, like, oh God, you know, microwave's going to kill me or whatever. But the rest of us have got to make tea in about 3 minutes.
Yeah, I'm going to use the damn microwave.
Like, the microwave's going on, like, you know.
The kids whinging.
Yeah.
The kids
Whereas... yeah, with that more privilege, you can start to go, oh, maybe I shouldn't use a microwave. Or maybe this is hard. And maybe wafters, wafting, faffing, all of that. Yeah, it just leads, the devil makes use of idle hands or like your brain, your thoughts. Here's me, I've sounded very LDS then. But yeah, just that lack of structure or just time to ponder and get obsessive about these little things probably makes you vulnerable as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. And I think as well, you mentioning the idea of having lots of time. And if you are wafting around and there's nothing to anchor you, then that's where these sort of, this spiritual horseshit can come in and sort of take you off on a wave of further wafting, I guess, before you're, you know, and you can afford to go around the world with these people for a year, or you can afford to go and live in the commune because, you know, maybe mum and dad are bankrolling you.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yeah.
All those things. So yeah, I've not thought about class before.
I hadn't. And I know that you rage about the brainwash trope.
Yeah, I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're not stupid. These people are vulnerable for a number of reasons. It could be anything and everything.
Yeah.
They're not stupid. They're not brainwashed. This brings us, I guess, to one of the things that I'm sure we'd get to anyway, but let's talk about it now. The sort of, well, why don't you just leave thing? And it's like, we'd all like to think that, oh, I'd never I'd never get taken up by that. I'd never get taken in by that. I'm too smart. So if you get taken in at that, then you must be an idiot. It's like, well, why don't you just leave? It's like, you can't. No. Because of so many reasons. What if you've been in this cult for years? What if you have nothing left? You've lost contact with your family. All of those things. You've been weakened physically and mentally. Maybe you've been abused in the cult. Maybe you turning around and saying, actually, I want to leave, is you admitting,
yeah,
oh, I've been wrong for all these years. I feel like a fool. And shame is so hard.
Yes.
To break through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, the brainwashing and, you know, they must be stupid to end up there just gets on my tits, quite frankly. They're not blue tits, but it gets on my tits.
Yeah. No, it's really, really unfair.
Really unfair. And it doesn't help any conversation about recognising it or trying to stop it. In that Love Has Won, wasn't talk to some parents of some of the young people that were in it. They were trying to get them out or something, I vaguely remember.
Yeah, there were definitely parents in that. I think by the time, obviously, the documentary had happened, was it not completely folded? Did it not kind of die a bit of a death with her? I know that some continue afterwards, but there was definitely parents in that.
Yeah.
And there's parents in other ones as well.
Yeah.
There's two things here. One, you've just made me think about parents. And have you seen the 7M TikTok cult, the dance one?
No.
Oh, May, it's a good one. I think it's still going as well. Church links. Look at you, you're settling in.
And I'm moving. Got a ride on then. I'm so excited.
So let's go there. But can I just put a little fingery point thing over here about ethics? Because I want to bring it back to something you told me about your symposium and about the ethics of the storytelling and like how actually it can be a force for good.
Yeah.
So let's park that over there because I do want to pick that up because I thought it was so interesting. We've not talked about it yet, but you mentioned it to me and I was like, oh, let's talk about that. So, yeah, the 7M TikTok cult is like all these young, incredible dancers, like amazing, you know, the types of people who were literally on tour with Beyonce and so on, like the world's best dancers. Yeah. I think one of those dancers has a dad who is a religious leader, and he'd already had some kind of church that was literally a cult, like with like loads of abuse and so on, sexual abuse and stuff going on, as well as the financial abuse too. And then he had sort of, I suppose, been disgraced a bit. Now this successful son who then started inviting friends around for dinner, and then he was still running a church. He just started to like bring these kids round for dinner and sort of, you know, groom them.
Yeah.
And then ultimately has now created this manager company, dance manager company. So he's now managing all of this troupe of dancers, but all of them cut off ties with their family. Instagram posts of them all looking stunning, doing these videos and saying they're happy and healthy, but they won't meet family. And when they do meet family, conversations are really 2D and they don't go any deeper. So when I watched that the documentary, I think it's still running. It's quite a recent documentary and it seems like it's still going. And like, some of these young people haven't been, you know, really authentically contacted with their parent, had good contact with their parents for a long time and their families. So it's been kind of like exposed. The whole documentary is made by the families. That's another one where it's like very much the sister, very much the parents of one family who reached out to the others, and they've done this documentary to sort of expose it. And so some dancers have got out and they're also in it and they'll talk about their experience. And then it also links back to the original church that he was running. So these people from the church have come back. But that's another vulnerability, isn't it? It's like, you know, you've got bereavement, you're like, you're working, you're poor, or you've not got many family ties. You know, that thing of like, people are not brainwashed, they're not stupid, they're vulnerable. And somebody shows you some love. Yeah. Someone shows you some care, they give you some resources. Is it food? Is it
I will house you, I will clothe you. Here is a family, we will love you. If you've got those holes in your life, or a spiritual hole perhaps, you've decided you don't want to be whatever anymore, then, you know, in comes the cult.
Yeah.
Wow.
Enter stage left.
Oh, here he comes.
I managed to hold on from saying, oh, white balls. But I really liked him. It's like a little bit of class, just a little tiny bit.
Given that you're talking about people where it's still going on, you've got a family having to basically build a support network for themselves and then to do what? To work to try and get their kids out, I guess. Yeah. That then does link on to the ethics stuff, I suppose. So at the Murder Media Symposium, I'm so glad it's over.
Oh, mate.
God, the stress. Anyway, at that, one of the key threads that came out of it, which I was sure it was always going to be part of the conversation anyway, but lots of papers did conclude or talk about, or the discussion was talking about ethics. And it does need to be part of the conversation with true crime generally, because you are talking about real people, real stories, and you shouldn't sensationalise, exploit, all those things. And one of the things that came out of that discussion was, surely there's got to be a space here for true crime doing some good. And that came out of, so Nina Jones is doing her PhD, maybe she's listening, maybe she's not, it's a PhD sort of by practice, so she's making a documentary. So she's been and talked to all kinds of people involved with true crime, and she showed us a bit of it in her paper, and it looks brilliant. But she spoke to a woman whose name escapes me, of course, but this woman was saying, given how much power and love and energy is poured into this, it doesn't just have to be this trashy thing. Surely it can be used as a force for good. What that is and how that looks like, that's kind of up for the next, generation of true crime people to figure out. And I thought that was really interesting, because I never thought about it in terms of that. I thought about ethics in terms of, if I was to make any true crime content, if I was to do anything, even doing this, then thinking about ethics in terms of, you never take the piss out of victims, you never blame anyone for anything bad happening to them, just the way that you behave in your everyday life. And I never once considered that true crime content could actually be something a lot more progressive and useful. And that was one of the things in the day that I was like, wow, shit, okay, how do we do that?
And unlocks and sets free a bit of the guilt, because you're like, this is like trauma theatre, you know, and it is, we do have to be mindful of that and be sensitive to it, don't we?
Of course we do.
I think we spoke about it last time.
We did.
And
You
like
mentioned
reality TV, Love Island, and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Where it then gives us the language to talk about. But it's all linked, isn't it? It's all basically bastards. We're talking about bastards. And it's like,
many bastards.
It's coercive control, it's red flags, it's this language that we never had before, that we can suddenly understand and hopefully spot and protect ourselves from it. So is that the prevention element? But then, there is also the dismantling element with that 7M thing, where it's like, it's a platform to actually completely discredit this organisation. Yeah. Like, they would have had loads of sponsorship, loads of money before. These were like top of their game, dancers. Who's going to touch them with a barge pole now? And then what happens? And at what point can they then see the light, hopefully? If it's all around you and you can't deny it anymore, does that then set these young people free? I mean, hopefully,
Yeah, so a way to reach them, that maybe we have more power to reach. Is there more power to reach them through the very tools that other cult leaders are using to recruit through TikTok? As heinous as I find it, it can, again, that could have so much power for good, but it's not. It's just full of chumps. I was trying to be nice.
I know. It's funny when you tone it down.
I should use the other C word, but not everyone there is one of those. Anyway, so the dismantling.
Cool. Was that the C word?
Yeah. See you next Tuesday. The dismantling is quite interesting. One of the things that I like about contemporary cult media, and generally contemporary true crime, is the dismantling of stories that we previously thought were a particular way. The example that comes to mind is the recent flurry of interest around Charles Manson again and the Manson family. And there's a Netflix doc which is out at the moment. Me and Shelley talked about it, but it does a much better job of highlighting how much of a racist piece of shit he was, and not a counterculture icon that he's kind of been turned into. And so, Manson, he didn't actually do any killing, or he represented this, he represented all that idea we have of the mediated, sort of imagined 1960s. Probably wasn't really like that anyway. But actually, he was a racist piece of shit, and it's like, we can't forget that. He's not this icon. And I thought that's been particularly interesting, to dismantle some of those long-standing ideas about, like you say, the charismatic, narcissistic, arrogant, privileged white man. So maybe, we can still take them down a peg or two, which is useful.
Always, yeah. I've got to admit, I guess I didn't really have that perspective of him anyway. I don't know why, maybe I didn't know enough, but I just always just thought, he looks fucking mad. And then he did mad shit. I never thought he was like any sort of good egg in any way whatsoever. I didn't know that people have viewed him as a revolutionary or whatever.
Yeah,
I guess that's what pins a lot of this stuff down anyway, isn't it? Like some sort of vision, and people are like, oh, that looks good, and off they trot. Like, what's that, the Pied Piper.
So that brings us to this then. So let's think about cults and why they might be so alluring. Escapism, wanting to live outside the mainstream. So, like I said, I don't like the word brainwashing, and I don't think people who end up in cults are stupid. We've considered class. So what do you think is alluring about just leaving it all behind and going following some guy wafting around in his linen caps? All right, so we've mentioned the charismatic leader, the narcissistic, arrogant white male leader. Let's think about why cults might be so alluring. So I don't like the brainwash term. We don't like the brainwash term. People who end up in cults are not stupid.
No.
So what is it about them, do you think, that is so alluring? Why do people want to do that? And, you know, my first thought would be, want to live outside the mainstream. But what is it that makes people turn away from fucking everything and go and follow Captain Loincloth over there?
Captain Loincloth! Well, I think that links very nicely back to the start of our conversation when you were like, how's your week been? And I was like, the world is a bin fire. I mean, fucking hell, what's going on? I think we were all a bit, I mean, maybe not everyone, but most people are overwhelmed by the pace and the expectation. There's a stretch. It's like there's a stretch, and then even beyond that stretch, you have to stretch further, especially for like people like ourselves. You know, you have got a young person in your home, you are raising children. That absolute stretch beyond with work, with family, with trying to maintain friendships. And that's like for us. And then when you look at the Instagrammy culture and whatever, you're then supposed to be, you know, also looking after wellness and maintaining your relationships and advancing in your career and earning enough money and fucking eating whatever and not using microwaves and like juicing or
green
whatever.
Juice. Don't forget your green juice.
They must do green poos, mustn't they? But anyway, there's so much like to juggle and manage that the idea of escaping that in the modern age must feel amazing.
Yeah.
And then obviously historically cults have also existed in capitalism and stress and I was going to say more misogyny and more racism, but I don't know if that's bloody true, which is devastating. I think less, hopefully less. So yeah, I think that people want to escape the grind.
Yeah.
They want to escape the capitalism, the structures that oppress us all, patriarchy, you know, whatever these things are, you know, that hold us all so bound in our positions. And I think that there's probably a little bit of all of us that can relate to some of that.
Yeah.
So you know that I love a sex cult, right? And like relationship cults.
Yeah.
I love the inner workings of people. And I also love the idea of, like women have been oppressed sexually. And so the idea of these cults like the one, the love, whatever that, the orgasm cult. It was like female sexual liberation was what it was billed as. Obviously, it didn't turn out to be that. But that's important work.
Yes.
And so you can see why people get drawn into it.
Yeah, on the surface, they're like, oh, fantastic,
That's why it all work for us all societally to progress. You can see how people get sucked into that. And then you can see how people want to go off grid and people who want to just sort of disassociate from, like, capitalism's horrific. The damage it does to the planet, to us all, to our mental well-being, to burnout. Like, we're all suffering. So you can completely see the allure. It's like, you know, yes, I'll come with you, Pied Piper, like, slip off. Oh my God.
Yeah, do you want to stop thinking about taxes and bank accounts and paying the bills and all of that shit? To take all of that fucking labour away that we do and to live in a field and grow your own food. I mean, I'm saying this like I want to do it. I think it sounds fucking awful. I think nothing worse than wanting to go and live in a field and grow my own food.
Yeah.
I do like a building and Wi-Fi.
I do. And I like culture. I like the arts.
Yeah, I need museums and cinemas and Netflix.
Yeah, rather than some twat directing his own ballets for
oh God
every week.
The fucking Hamdram.
Hamdram.
Oh God, what are they called? What was that cult called? I can't remember what they were called.
The Speedo guy.
Yeah, he was always prancing about
Hell.
Speedos.
Hell.
It's called Holy Hell.
Holy Hell. He had a million names, I think, him.
Ugh.
Andreas, I think, was one.
Yeah, and he was full of plastic surgery and
riddled. Like a riddler. Do you remember that? He looked like one of them off the canal boat.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. And you imagine you can't leave and you've got to perform be in his ballet that no one watched. When they performed it, there was no one there. It was like, this is fucking insane. Actual worst nightmare. So people might join because of, you know, what the escapism factor. I think the family community factor is also really strong. If you don't have anyone, maybe your family's ditched you, and all kinds of things, and somebody says, I give you a family.
Yeah.
Then of course you're going to snap it up, right? That's what we all want. We all want.
Yeah.
What about cult survivors then? So, we don't like the word brainwash, like I've said 15 times now. But I wanted to talk about this because of the Waco documentary that's on Netflix. And again, and me and Shelley touched on this as well. There was a woman in it, and I'm sure we talked about this on WhatsApp, that one of the women being interviewed, she was in the Brunch Davidians, and she was one of the first people to leave, I think, in one of the early buses, and like maybe the handful of people that got let out. And the way that she was talking about it, like she was still in it, like she still believed.
Yes.
And that was mad. So like you mentioned before, like, some people that are still in documentaries and they're talking about it, and it's like, you're still kind of into it.
Yeah.
What's that about?
Yeah, or not even that they're into that person, but there's a lot of utopia, isn't there? There was a dream. They didn't just join. They didn't start off without power.
Yeah.
They started with choice and freedom of movement and making their own decisions, and they were like, I want to do this thing. When they first started it wouldn't have started awful either. These things never do they? They would start with love bombing and start with, the grooming and stuff and the utopia. And that phase, for some of those people, especially for the older cults that you see as well, it's like a decade or whatever before it got really seedy, or before you knew how seedy it was. So they were all living
compartmentalising, aren't they?
Yeah. And so they missed their life, I think, and missed how it made them feel. And
the community.
Yeah.
The family.
Yeah. And the dream. So I think it is really hard. You would find such a contradiction in yourself of what you wanted and what you were looking for compared with what you got. That would be so hard to untangle.
And to come out into this bullshit that we've just said, all of this bullshit is why you want to leave in the first place and go into the cult. So when you come out of the thing that was supposed to be giving you everything, and then you've got to face tax returns and stuff, like, what the hell?
And a world that's got faster and got worse. Whatever your thing you were trying to escape, the dial would have been turned up on that without a doubt.
Yeah.
So there's also that nostalgia hit then, isn't it? So it's probably also, rose-tinted spectacles as well.
For sure. And then you get to feel that you've been oppressed as well. That's got to be part of it.
Devastated.
So complicated. I don't really think I have any other actual questions, but is there anything else that you wanted to circle back to or to reiterate, or stuff that we've not talked about, because we've gone all around the houses?
So many houses.
So many houses.
Such a journey.
Is there anything else that you wanted to highlight from when I said cults to you several weeks ago?
I think there's probably another theme that we maybe didn't explore, just about that white people have no culture trope, which again is very white-centric.
Yeah.
But I guess that's also something I'm interested in as an law. It's like, I know that we sort of mocked spirituality and religion at the beginning. Like, maybe not mocked, we talked about, I know you're Catholic, so you took the piss out of the Pope. And you're allowed, to do that.
Not Catholic anymore.
And we both were like, oh my God, LDS is a cult. Because it's got flames, it's deep. But, in our modern day culture, we don't have faith and spirituality and religion as a thing. Like many people don't in the Western world.
So everyone that we know, we think about our friendship group.
Yeah.
Who has it?
Heathens. The lot.
We're all going to hell. Not that it exists.
Whether you started with it or not, whether you shed it or not, absolute heathens. So but then we've also got loads of like deep hippie mates as well. So people do still, even though they've what's that word? I don't know if it's sconned or a shond, a singy, got rid of. No, whatever. Got rid of like religion, but they've sorted it out in their own way.
Yeah.
Their own rituals, their own practice, their own whatever.
Yoga.
Don't think any of them have gone to cult level yet. If they do, we'll bring them back. Got my eye on a few.
Bring them back. But I've got my eye on one in particular, but this isn't for the podcast, I'll let you know.
Like a thread, hanging by a thread to the rest of us.
They come back to us.
So I think that there's something in that. I think that in the modern world, as well as it being busy and really full on, there isn't a space of spirituality. And actually, even for us, we used to have a bit more of that. And I think a lot of us seek it and would like to have it, even though we don't. And we don't fit into the religion thing. And so I think there's maybe a human need for that.
Probably just comes down to our need for community and family.
Yeah.
There's lots of studies and lots of things talking about how we don't live communally anymore. You used to know all your neighbours, and now, I will say hello to my neighbours, and they're all lovely, but it's just not who I am, and that kind of thing makes me feel a little uncomfortable. But we've lost that way of living, and it's one of the complaints of the modern world, I guess. So people do seek it out, like you said. Our friends have gone and sought out yoga or all kinds of things. Just find groups where you can connect in a way that's maybe slightly differently to how you connected with your parents.
Yeah.
So we do have a drive to do that. So you can see where it all comes from. But you can even see why people were drawn into twin flame. You know, it's so hard to find someone. Online dating and app dating just looks horrific. I'm very thankful
people tell you it is. Anyone who does it, anyone I know who's done
awful.
it is like, it's horrendous.
Yeah, really thankful to have been with my fella for so long, because I don't need to deal with that. That looks fucking appalling.
I'm really thankful to not give enough of a shit about having a partner that I've never done it. Could not give less of a shit. Do not need to fucking find it that hard.
Don't need that. So to find love, it looks like it's getting harder and harder. So you can see why something like Twin Flames that says we have a direct program that will help, that will give you this guaranteed. Just, give us $8,888 for the 6-week program and we'll sort it. So you can see why it's appealing, because it taps into our really basic fundamental needs as people.
Yeah, for love, the village.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the village, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It's just not there.
And then also I think for me, I don't have it so much in terms of like the villagey stuff, although I do need that. I think we've got a good community as a friendship group. For me, the thing that would probably draw me to, where my spirituality lives is it's very earthy. It's very seasonal. Like a pagan. The only religion I've ever connected with in any way is a pagan religion, because I guess it's tangible. Yeah. I can do seasons. I can do solstice.
Nature.
I can do. Yeah. I can see that. I can understand that. What is it, in bulk, when like the first seeds come, and like that's the. I don't know. I'm clearly not a pagan, did a terrible job of this, but like the idea that that's the birth of the new year, and I'm like, I can get that, because there it is. Look at those bulbs. Look at like snowdrops, right?
We're only weeks away from a beer garden.
Exactly. And then the winter solstice, and I'm like, okay, so it's settling in now. We are in the depths of it all. Like, it makes sense to me. Like, I don't need a god, and I don't need anything to tell me what to do. I don't need a moral compass. I don't need a moral compass.
I've got one.
I'm okay for that. I don't need somebody else to tell me what my moral compass is. Because I've got that thing that people have when they can't handle any feedback or direction. I can't remember what it's called. It's like, whatever.
Being a prick.
Yeah. That unsolicited advice. Oh no, my God, watch out. Don't give me unsolicited advice. So yeah, I'm okay for that, but like something that anchors me a bit more, especially in this capitalistic mad world, something that anchors me a bit more to like the real environment and like the earth. And I just like a mad hippie up. This is what I mean. We're only one step away from being took off by one of them. This is what I mean.
So if any of you are listening,
you're like, show me a village, and I'm like, show me the earth. The earth. I've had the earth so many times. So I just kind of hate myself a bit now. But yeah, that's what it is, though. That's the allure, isn't it? Yeah. Like, we've all got a thing that could easily have us skipping off following somebody in a pair of shorts and a flute.
Right. So on that note, are we done? Are we going to have to join a cult?
Yeah, we are. I've got 2 things to add to that.
Go on.
I want to just give ChatGPT credit. Should I say that? Should I know you hate it? But it did help me with like some of my ideas. I was like, what do I think about this? And it basically summarised my ideas as off-grid linen core meets chaotic doomsday energy.
Yes.
I think it's the call for you and me. Let's do it.
Linen core. Oh, that's my tripping up point. I can't do linen.
Can't do linen.
No.
It's good for when it's hot though, and you hate being hot.
Yeah, no, but it's always beige.
Yeah, I'm sure you can dye it, but yeah, it's,
I bet you can't. I bet it's one of those bastard fabrics that you
it wouldn't go black. You'd never be able to wear it.
I'm currently sat
By dye it, you mean it won't go black?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
It wouldn't hold it, would it?
No. So you're gonna, I need another fabric, and then maybe I'm listening.
I do have a meme for us to end on though, which is something that I've had in my pocket for ages, and then I just came across it recently because a friend of ours asked us for some memes. So I was like, I'll just have a look through what I've got in the archive. And there, some legend out there called Sarah K. Runnels says, "I'm not gullible enough to be lured into a cult, but I am nosy enough." So yeah, on that note,
there it is. All right, well, thanks for joining me again. Thanks for chatting to me about cults. You know the exact kind of thing you need to wave in Laura's face if you want us to join your cult.
Bit dirt.
You know what I want as well? I just want some help. Right. So yeah, follow the projects on Instagram at murdermedia81. Email us on the same fucking address. And I don't know what it's going to be next week because these are recorded all over the place. But thanks for listening, and you'll hear from me again next week. Goodbye.